Hi everyone, my name is Hamza. Very excited to see you all over here. You're stuck in with me for the next 3 hours. Hopefully not stuck, but you'll get something out of this session. So why are we here today? We are here today. We're gonna have 2 modules, and I usually start with the clickbait ones. What on earth is going on over here? I'll give an introduction about myself, and we'll get started. My name is Hamza. For this, you can use your phone if you want to scan to get to my LinkedIn. My name is Hamza. I run a company with the name of Traversaal.ai. I was previously at Google, and before that, I was at Walmart. I've been in search engines for a very long time. I have 2 expertise. I do machine learning, which is prediction modeling, forecasting models, supply chain stuff, and then search engines. It's a weird mix, but it's just what my experience has been. I also teach at Stanford and I teach at UCLA, and my courses are more focused on being extremely technical. This is the least technical thing I teach. Usually my stuff is more around how to build something and implement things from ground up. So that's a little bit about me. So what are the learning outcomes for the first session? I'm gonna try to clock in for 1 hour so that we have a 10-minute, 15-minute break, and then we'll recap for module 2. So we'll start with why on earth do we need to change? Everybody a year ago, 2 years ago was so happy in their jobs, and everybody was like, hey, we don't need to worry about anything, and then AI came in and FOMO went through the roof. That's why we are all are here. We're gonna talk about some of the previous machine learning stuff that you have seen. We're going to talk about a little bit of NLP or natural language processing overview. We're going to talk about the Gen AI landscape, and at the end we're going to discuss some working prototypes of how Gen AI is being used in today's world. So here we go. In case you have a question, what I try to do is I stop every 10 minutes so that you can ask questions. Sometimes if you have a very burning question, I will still ask you to wait. Because it just breaks the flow for the entire class in their learning. I ask of anyone or all of you to not use your laptops during the session. It helps to get your concentration. I promise you, this is gonna be 3 hours. After that, you can do whatever you want, whoever you want to chat to. But just give whoever has paid for this, even if it's you, if it's somebody else, give it the importance, and I promise you this will be useful for you. All right, so why are we here today? Why some of you have traveled? Is everybody from Canada, Toronto region? Anybody not from here?
I'm from Waterloo.
From Waterloo.
Manitoba.
Right.
Montreal.
I am from San Francisco, right? So I flew in yesterday. I left home at 3:30 in the morning, took a couple of flights, and finally got here. But why are we here today? We are here today because a year ago, you teach, you probably saw a change in your assignments being given. Like students have started using GPT to answer questions, and all the LinkedIn posts, like all the ugly LinkedIn posts, everybody likes such long LinkedIn posts. That is all ChatGPT, okay, or Claude, or any one of those, right? Second thing is you started writing your your emails using all the stuff that we write, all the content that we write has gotten pretty big. And finally, the most important, the AI startups that have sprung up like weed everywhere, they're raising a whole lot of money. I live in the Bay Area, so you can imagine that I get to see somebody build a wrapper, like 10 lines of code wrapper on top of something. They have raised $1 million. I don't want to be mean, but Mistral is a fork repo from Llama. So Llama built it out, Mistral took it, and they raised $1 billion, I think. So there's a lot that's going on behind the scenes on being wrapper based, and we all use. Has everybody used GPT? Is there anyone who's not used GPT? And one person. So you've not used GPT ever. Welcome to the welcome to the show. All right. So, but in one way or the other, this has been the fastest growing, the product that got to 100 million users. It was the fastest tool that got there, and it has become very, very prevalent in the industry. We use it without knowing, and we wish it was there earlier. Like all of us probably, did anybody hear of GPT in 2021? Anyone who's worked on GPT or heard of GPT? There's one person, there's two person, and you've probably heard it more in the form of research, right? Or not in like copy.ai came out, a company named copy.ai that came on and like, wow, this is so crap. But in Google, we built T5, and there's an architecture called T5. Some of you might know it. I don't want to go into the details, but T5 was there, and we thought, oh my God, you could tell a model something and it will understand what you're saying. That was the power of these algorithms and models, and it was GPT sort of took center stage the past 1 year, and so much money has been invested in them. So, but there's one main question, and that's what I'm here to help answer or help brainstorm. What can generative AI do for you and your organization? Most of you, some of you are data scientists, some of you work in the tech field, some of you are not technical. You might be product manager, you might be a business leader, but this is the most prevalent question that I get asked every now and then. What is it that generative AI can do for you? Is it something that will change? Like, how can it be made useful? To answer this question, this is more of a reflective part, and I like to interact with people. So what I'll do is that I'll point my finger to someone and say, hey, can you answer me this question? I'm sorry, the front row will get more than the back row, but this is a splash zone. But what I'll try to do is try to interact with you all. So let's start with one question. Why do we use Uber? There were taxis, and taxis were great. Why do we use Uber? Anyone? Well,
Reduce the time.
reduce the time. Anyone else? Convenience. Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think door-to-door service is the most critical one.
Sorry, yeah?
So door-to-door service,
Yeah.
I think that's the most critical.
All right, number 3,
Safety.
safety.
Payment.
Payment. Anyone else?
There's choice too. Choice.
Yes. So, any other?
When they started, they were cheaper, at least around here than taxis.
Yeah. By the way, it's still cheaper here. I mean, in SF, like we also added a multiplier of 0.6, right? 0.6 or whatever for US. And I was like, wow, this is cheap. Yesterday, I took a 33 USD dollar for a 30 from Mississauga. I came back here and I was like, wow, this is... Anyways, but it was cheaper at one point.
Democratization
Of,
of, I guess, the taxi service.
yes. So, couple of...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So I'm from India, so it's negotiation was one of the factors of
Yeah.
using Uber. So
Yeah, so it's like one cost center.
One cost, yeah.
Yeah, did you hear about Ola Maps?
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to talk about the controversy around that too. All right.
I would say it was immediacy, but if you live in LA, it cannibalized all the competitors, so you're not having immediacy.
Yep. Yep. All right. I'm sorry. One last.
Yeah, as a passenger, it's just best control.
Yeah. So what they have done is they've created a frictionless experience. So software, you use Instagram. Don't deny it. We all use Instagram. We all use TikTok. We all use. I don't use Snapchat. I don't use TikTok. I can't understand Snapchat. Like I'm literally a boomer in that stage. I don't understand how why the Snapchat exists, but they all offer one thing: frictionless experience, right? You said non-negotiation. Somebody said safety. Somebody said payment. Somebody said democratization. It's access to a service which is so easy that you don't even think about it. You're like, oh, let's just get an Uber. And even if you go and Lyft, you say, I'm lifting. You just say, I'm Ubering. Because Uber is just this word that just stuck in your head. It's easier to They have a show about it also. Super pumped. If you have, you should look it up. It's a very interesting show. They built this entire service for frictionless environment, and some of the people like Gen Z sort of just grew up on these. Like they're so used to them. They've seen them. So in the current day, we use these technologies. None of these technologies are new. Like the services they offer are not sort of new. They have existed for a while. You know, like you could go to a store and buy the stuff that Amazon has to offer. Why do we shop at Amazon? It comes to your doorstep without you even having to think about it even once, that what do I need to buy? How do I need to purchase? You're like, hey, Amazon, you purchase it. Netflix. All right, raise your hand if you pay for your Netflix account. Yeah, I don't believe you. Okay, so I'll give you an example. If you're the leftmost person on the profile, you are the one who's paying for it, right? Now, what happens if you give your Netflix account password? You're a very nice person. You give your Netflix account to somebody else, and they watch a show on it. What happens then?
They get a message through.
Yeah.
Like, but
Right. And what's the message?
something. I think it's. I can't remember the message, but it nudges you into paying for.
Yeah. I mean, that's the platform thing. But as you as a person, let's say I am your friend and I am broke, as I always am, and because I live in San Francisco, I'll make a lot of Bay Area jokes. So you decide to give me your Netflix account, and I watch Housewives of Atlanta on it. What happens then?
You start getting suggestions of the same.
Suggestions and recommendations.
Right? Of Housewives of New York. I don't know whatever that is, but let's say you just start getting India matchmaking, or you get a random number of shows, right?
But like, create different.
Yes, you can create a different account, and that's the thing you say. You say, dude, stop watching on my Netflix. It messes up my recommendation system. Make a new profile. And then they make this stupid new profile with a random picture. You're like, why am I even friends with them? But the idea that I'm trying to raise over here is that Netflix has created this level of personalization for you, that it has become your digital footprint. It is it's your basically a unique key. So each one of you, if you use Netflix, you all have a very particular likeness, and you judge other people. Like, I'm actually afraid to open my Netflix in front of other people because I don't know what they will think about me. Right? Sometimes I watch weird shows. But I'm just saying that Netflix has become your unique personalization. It's an experience. So all of these products, I'm not talking about the AI over here yet. Slack is an absolute convenience. So all these products, the reason I'm saying this again is they provide you with a custom experience, or they provide you with a frictionless environment to a technology that has always existed, but they just do it a little better. Slack is just a little better over Google Meet. It's a lot better than Google Meets, of course. But it's a product that you want to use. Zoom took off. Why did Zoom took off in COVID? Anyone? Yeah, I mean, yes, of course. But Google Meet was there. Skype was there.
Easy to use.
It was easy to use.
Very easy to use.
Why was it easy to use?
One click and the meeting is open.
You did not need to make an account. You did not need to be on the same network. You did not need to have the same email address. They didn't even have a password. And we all know what weird stuff happened over there. But the idea that I'm trying to say is that I want you to remember this. Frictionless was something that got us to create these products. Now some of you might use HBO or other products or Prime Video. You never think about personalization over there because you don't care who's watching, because it doesn't change. It's like when you think of HBO, you just think of, hey, Game of Thrones, so on and so forth, or a bunch of other shows, but you don't really think about personalization. Netflix is so important to you because it has become your unique identification, almost like you can recognize this person of who you are by these products. All right. Did you bring donuts?
Hi.
Did you bring donuts? The rule was who was the last was supposed to bring donuts. All right. Okay.
Great.
Why is not working? Okay. So, coming back to the older question, what can generative AI do for you? And let's go through a round of things. So we talked about customer experience and frictionless environment in all these softwares that we're using in today's world. Why do you use any Gen AI product or any of the like let's say most of you use ChatGPT. Why do you use ChatGPT?
It can amass and summarize like a ton of information that you don't have to scour the net for.
All right, so it can get information and amass a lot of things. Anyone else? Any others?
More human-like, it is very close to human-like experience, like you're chatting.
You can chat with human-like, but what is it? Why is it good about the human part? Like not because of the technology, but what is it about the human that's driving? Because I'm going to build on that.
Yeah, information is so relevant to the point, and when you are asking a question to a human, they are able to process it and give you the exact answer. That's something.
Right. You had a point.
It's able to provide reasonably valid, curated, relevant, immediate information.
Through a machine.
Through a machine, which shrinks my workload time.
So would you say it's sort of an assistant?
It's very easy. It's on that pathway to become an assistant.
Yeah, and it's sort of like a human clone who's a little bit young, who's a little younger and a little too polished in the way they talk by using words like delve and candor and all these other things. But it's just basically there's a bit of a human like any other things here. This group has been really quiet. Anything? Efficiency. What is the efficiency with it?
For in case knowledge workers need information of the fingers, if they want it readily available, some kind of work as a surgery that is potentially automated.
All right. Okay.
I would say the interface is very smooth.
Interface is smooth.
It's good at breaking down like complex information to simple, like structured explanations.
Yep.
It's like less learning.
Less learning involved.
I think it gives you the exact solution you're looking for.
No. Have you tried coding on it? All right. You had a point.
I want to talk about the smooth use of it because OpenAI made it so different in comparison to other language models that was other.
Right. All right. So all of the things we are saying here, can a human being do that for you? Like if you want to have a conversation, you can have a human conversation, or you can have an intern write all those long emails, or that conversation, or that brainstorming, or that weird code that never works, pretty much like an intern, right? That code never works. But so that alludes you to one thing: productivity. So we talked about softwares being frictionless. AI is here, or generative AI is here for productivity. And the productivity point that I'm trying to raise over here is that it reduces the time that a human would take, or a bunch of humans would take, to get it done for you. That is the power of these products. Now, there are a lot of things that you say, oh, no, Hamza, I don't believe that. This is like, there are other things. Yes, there are other things. But what you're doing is that you're reducing the human hours that would have taken you to get there. You will eventually get there to some level of expectation. But the ability to get you there faster so that you can spend more time on Instagram is what basically we use generative AI products for. It's the productivity factor, the strength of productivity that comes in through those things. And this is essentially why we are using it. Like at the end of the day, you can tell this LinkedIn post was written by ChatGPT. You still read it. Actually, I don't read much. I just glance through it. But research papers. I'm guessing you do have research papers being published. Some research papers have ChatGPT as an author also, because it's just writing things faster for you. Like honestly, there's so many things and it's only going to get better. It's only going to get better. So essentially, you go from frictionless experience to productivity, so that you have the ease of doing something to the ease of reducing your time to get something. That's the power of how productivity and comes into play.
I have a question.
Sorry.
So we are speaking about productivity and how generative AI can help us produce and save time. But for example, I want to speak about the bad side of the Gen AI, not the productivity.
We will talk a lot about that, don't worry.
Because we have problems like in academia too, like ChatGPT, for example, causing us plagiarism.
Too much. And that also leads us to think that the tests that we have been building for all those years, are they really good tests? For example, if you give, how many of you are software engineers or been software engineers? How many have done lead code? What's your lead code number?
Not very high.
Not very high. What is lead? Can you tell the class what is lead code?
So lead code is a collection of programming questions that are purported to be similar to the questions asked by the big software firms.
Yeah.
And there are 3 levels essentially: easy, medium, and hard. And typically, if you can solve 2 medium or 2 hard problems in an hour, you are fit for appearing for another panel, something like that.
Has that ever worked out?
No.
Exactly. So it goes to the question that are the tests that we have built, and we'll go deeper into that.
Not tests. For example, students.
Yes.
When you ask a student to write me an assignment about ABC, and they go and ask ChatGPT to write me a full assignment about ABC.
Yep.
And
That's right there. That's the first thing. That's the first thing I wrote.
And ChatGPT writes everything with even references, academic references.
Yeah, but there are.
So this is our problem.
Yeah.
We need students to write their assignments by themselves, not ChatGPT.
I'm just going to ask you all to imagine. Do we want to think in the future that we want to think of ChatGPT as something which is an end in itself, or a tool that you use to do something? It's also thinking about calculators. I mean, I'm going to be the not devil's advocate, and I'm going to be speaking for it because I speak a lot against it. But the idea, and I want to maintain the technical discussion here, but the idea is that GPT is here, and GPT based products are owning towards productivity. I'll start with this example, one small example. This chart basically shows that the months before and after AI deployment, how good was the AI assistant in customer complaints resolution. Now this is the test, this is not a comprehensive, it works every single time. But in this scenario, this was the change. Now, in order to get this change, what is happening is that with lesser people, or with the same number of people, you're able to get more stuff done. So the idea is not to say, hey, we're going to hire 5 new people. The idea is that, hey, with the existing number of people, can we train them so that they can allow us to evaluate and get more things done faster. This is what really it's bringing it down to. GPT is not, I'm not going to tell you that GPT is smarter than you. I'm not going to say GPT has knowledge beyond, yes, it has knowledge, it has things. But all it's doing is that it can understand what you're saying, and it can route things, and it can automate things, which leads you to higher productivity in terms of one use case. And we'll go into deeper, and we'll talk about more use cases. So we'll start with the one at the bottom. There's going to be cost savings. So it will automate your task. That's what the next door session is about. They're about AI agents. So there is improving the cost savings, this increased innovation. There's a faster time to market because you can build things faster now. I don't know what I don't know what we're going to do with all the time we have left in our world, but this is becoming faster, getting there quicker, more, we keep using the word more. We have moved on from being frictionless to being innovating faster so that everything is always available at your fingertips. Like everything has to be so quickly available to you that you don't even have to move, you don't even have to lift a finger maybe now. What does that lead to?
Do you think it's a good thing?
So what does it all lead to?
Productivity.
I mean, yes, that's the positive thing. But what's the other thing?
Laziness.
Laziness?
Well, but I think it's also frees you up to do higher value things.
Yes.
Right? Because yes, there's a bunch of stuff that I do in my day-to-day job that are super boring, repetitive, that admittedly could be automated, and that's what I'm using these tools for.
Yes.
And then I can go to the higher level thinking things that a human is better suited than these tools. Because I think,
That's the good answer.
yeah, that's the one thing I think
Yep.
these tools, because even when you're using them, they always give you an answer.
Yes.
And a human is not like that. A human, like, wait a minute, is that even a valid question?
Yep.
Anyways, but
Right.
So I think if you think about XY axis and the frequency distribution of people, on the Y axis benefit, disbenefit, there will be a proportion of individuals who will do very well from AI in the sense that it frees their brains up to do more socially positive work. There'll be another group, maybe that the teacher, the professor works with, also has a subset of the students who then switch their brains off.
Yes.
Have an immediacy of I'm succeeding because I'm getting the scores, and then find out later that they've just lost their brain training.
Exactly. So go ahead.
I was like, my observation is that all black box, right? And I work in the financial industry.
Yeah.
Explainability and everything's like really critical.
Yep.
And this, we're not even using much of it.
Yep. Yep.
And I think that's why we are basically in this workshop, choosing what to do with AI and what we want
Yeah.
to do about ourselves.
So I'll tell you one dark side, and I know there are more answers, but I'll just get to. There is one word. If you're not aware of it, you'll get aware of it very soon. I am a brown person. I got introduced to it very early on. The one word is cholesterol. So, because you don't move your like. Of course, you're coding and you're writing things, but what happens is that you get cholesterol because you actually like. It's what you said. The positive is, yes, you will have this power to do these amazing things, and I've freed up my time to do amazing, incredible workmanship. No, but we don't do that because we keep scrolling. And I like the optimism, and the realism of it is that there are things which are happening. So again, I don't want to give a lecture on ethics about using AI and not AI, but what I will say is that you're all here so that we can have a conversation how you can be the person who builds the AI so that it can be productive for your users. I'm guessing some of you work somewhere, you do a bunch of jobs. It's how generative AI, and I'll also explain what generative AI is. I've been talking about Gen AI nonstop. But how can these products, all I want you to think now, like 2 years ago, you would say productivity. I have an app that can, some of you have seen Modern Family. There's a show named Modern Family. In Modern Family, towards the end of the season, like last season, one of the last episodes, Luke develops an app that you can tap it to a machine and it can read all the medical information about you in any system. Now, any one of you who is not from developed nations, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, you know how bad the medical system is in terms of records. And imagine if there was a system that you could tap and all your medical information could be processed through all different applications. What about countries in Africa? That was frictionless because you have a tap of a phone and that could transfer information for you. That is the difference between friction and then productivity is, hey, I'm a doctor. I'm going to talk to a system. It's going to take notes for me while I don't have anybody else to do that for me. So some of you, I would ask you to think about that. There is a product that we are helping a company build. It's a research-based project. You all have heard of GPT, or some of you might have heard GPT-4o, right? GPT-4 is this thing that you can speak to it and it will respond back to you. But what happens when again, I'm going to say I'm a brown person. I don't have that. I have an accent, but I don't have the accent. and that accent sort of misses out, right? Imagine people with speech impairment. These systems don't work for people with impairment. So they're building systems that can understand speech impairment, like they can train a model from ground up or from basic to build to help people with speech impairment. Like it can recognize that, hey, you have we know that you have speech impairment. They would identify what you're trying to say, and furthermore, it will also help you. Hey, this is where you struggled, and this is where we can help you. Right? For instance, when I was young, I used to stutter. I still stutter a little bit. The C's, and anybody who stuttered previously in their life or still do, the C's and the O's are very, very difficult, right? I still have to keep thinking about those words. So, and there was a therapist that helped me with that, but there's so many people that do not have. So that is productivity. You are bringing in a non-existent human into an interface that can converse with a system, and that system can understand what you have said. That is one of the versions of productivity. Just think of that. Just keep it at the back of your mind as a project you might want to work on.
Before you move on, maybe this is a question for later. You mentioned productivity and the frictionless experience. What happens when some segments of the workforce, they prefer the friction because it directly ties in with the livelihood? Like the billable hour is something that they're actually working towards, and AI is going to just smush it up into minutes. So the mindset change, yes, this is what we can do for enterprises, but enterprises are composed of people who may want to have that billable hour still be valuable. I don't know if you have ever encountered something like that.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. That is a whole discussion on the workforce reduction also. I don't know if you read Intuit did a layoff yesterday. They lay off 1,800 people by calling them non-performers, which is really bad the way they put it. But yes, I don't want to focus. We can talk about the negatives of this, but I want to rephrase this conversation into, don't be the person who's being blocked out because of AI coming in. Be the person who's building and using AI as a tool in your jobs, because your jobs just got more complex. You are now is anybody who's in Excel guru of Excel? Probably it's a correlation with finance. Anybody who's
It's a legacy skill.
right, like insane Excel, you can do things. So I learned that a good Excel person is the person who knows how to use a keyboard and not a mouse at all. Right? Right. So that Excel person now can do so many has been able to do calculations, because before that it did not exist. So again, think of productivity using these tools to do something better. If we continue to put up minds, oh, it's going to take away the job, it's going to do that, that is going to slow you down in your own head. And this is where you have to keep learning. Listen, we all could be somewhere else. I could be in I could be in France also right now, but because I was supposed to be in France. But I'm just saying that we all could be somewhere else doing a bunch of things that we usually do. But this is an innovation that is going to change the way you think about the future. And either you are going to be replaced by an AI that does it for you, and you'll be like, oh no. Or you can see, can I learn this tool? And that's what we're going to do more in this class, is that how can I use this tool to actually do something better? To actually use these tools to build more of that. I feel like I'm being more of a motivational speaker now. Now let's get into the basic example. When was the last time you actually went to a store to shop? Actually went to a physical store to shop for clothes or shoes or something? Anyone? Last week. All right. Did you speak to an associate? Well, let's say you went to a store. You went to buy shoes, right?
Yeah.
When you would go to.
I went for clothes for my daughter.
Okay, so you spoke to the associate. What were some of the conversations you had?
So it's not that I talk much. So I just got the clothes and then I paid.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Did anyone interact with the sales associate?
yeah, but sometimes they say, "Can I help you?" And
Yeah.
I say, "I'm good."
Right. So back in the day when we were very entitled and Amazon did not exist the way it is today, we would actually go and talk to a human being and say a bunch of things, right? You will say, hey, I'm looking for a shirt. Sorry, this thing is stuck in my mind. I'm looking for a man, blue eyes, 6'5". She's descriptive, right? But this is a conversation, a multi-tier conversation that you would have with a system. Or with a person, you say, hey, I'm looking for a shirt. And he's like, what's your size? And he's like, I think you're like a medium or a large. I'm looking at myself now. Usually me. So you will say, hey, I'm looking for a shirt. And that person would be like, okay, I think you would fit into a medium or a large. And he's like, okay, what do you need it for? And he's like, I play golf. And he's like, hey, Nike is a great brand, or any other brand that you can have. And I want it to be moisture wicking and all that, and it should be very much affordable. You see my accent change, right? So it's the affordable part of the price point. So you can't write this right now in any system. This like if you go to, you can write it. I mean, of course, you can try out whatever you want to do. But if you go to Amazon or Google or somewhere, it will really struggle to give you a great answer. Why is that? Anyone? Why? Not the technology. I'm not focused on the technology. But why? What is happening over here? I mean, you can, if you want to talk about the technology also. But why can't Google answer something like this?
They expect structured questions to be asked in a structured manner. Then only it can respond to. Otherwise, it will be not able to even understand.
All right. One question. One answer.
It cannot understand what is the most important keywords and go for it all.
Right. Okay.
It's better when you use a shorter keyword than just all this.
Yep. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to ask you a question. Tell me why do you think if you put this in Google search, this won't work?
I guess behind the scene that the classification of information is not as expected.
Yes.
They don't manage.
So most often what happens is when you put in this question like this, Google's like, are you out of your mind, dude? What is wrong with you? Because we write 3 words, shirt, blue, Nike, why? Because we are used to keywords. Systems up till very recently were not built on understanding context of the conversation. And we're going to talk about context in the next class, but they were not able to understand what is the context of a conversation. They could understand only the keywords. So we would only keep keywords. Like imagine you go to a store and say, shirt, blue, Nike, medium, reasonable price point. And the guy would be like, right? So, but you do that in Google, right? We all use that in Google or Amazon, or I keep saying Amazon, and then e-commerce, like if you go shop from Gap or one of those, like they're terrible. Like their search is just horrible, right? Because you go there for destination, you saw this Chanel bag and you're like, okay, I need to get the Chanel bag, and you know exactly which one it is, and then you go to Chanel and you put in the ID. Anyways, the point is you don't say I'm looking for a reasonable price Chanel bag. But the discovery phase, that's what I'm trying to say, the pleasure of discovery. I don't know if there was this movie, I can't remember the name, Confessions of a Shopaholic or something. And then, the guy speaks in Prada, there's a language, like he orders stuff. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that we would go and speak to associates and we would say, hey, this is a great product, this is what I'm looking for. And they would tell you, hey, this is the most recommended thing. They won't show you all the store, right? They would take you to 4 or 5 maximum choices that you can choose. You would never get more than 5 or 4 because you will get overwhelmed. Then why on earth are we allowing Google to give us 10 million outputs? Like if I were to put a blue t-shirt, I get like 10 million links on Google, right? So we allow human to be in certain way, machines to be in certain way. Gen AI allows you the capability to act like a human when a human is not available. And this is like if any one of you runs an e-commerce company, or some of you have work in a bank, or some of you have customer complaints coming in. customer complaints needs to be handled in a very important way, and how you route them by understanding the nuances of that. That is where this algorithm, this is where engines come in. And you before you start throwing rocks at me and saying, hey, how the hell is this possible? Let me break it down to you. So all of these queries are individual queries. What if, and not what if, but this is how basically you can make them work behind the scenes. You can take one long query and you can feed it to a GPT. I literally wrote this in GPT actually, but you can use GPT, and GPT will take one query, understand what it means, and divide it into smaller search. Now, if you were to go to any website and say Nike t-shirt blue, or Nike website and say t-shirt, it will find you all the t-shirts. Then you will say, if you will say blue t-shirt, it will find you the blue t-shirt. If you were to say design for golf or golf t-shirt, it will. So you are basically reducing the size of the funnel by introducing multiple searches at the same time. And it could be parallel. There could be parallel searches, or it could be dependent searches, like one leading to the other. So think of a funnel. The funnel is reducing the size of the search that you're looking for. So as you reduce the size of that funnel, you end up with a very small set of results. That's the agent in language models. And if you're like, how I'm doing this in Python, some of you who are Python developers are like, okay, you know what, I know exactly what to do. Don't worry about that. I'll tell you all. All you have to do is tell a system, say, you can literally prompt this. You say, you're being given a query. By the way, these kind of queries are called complex queries. Complex query means that you have many filters, subjective and objective and all of that. And then you basically say, hey, I want you to combine the results. So GPT, you can give ChatGPT this one query, internal system through an API call. You can break it down into multiple searches, do individual searches, and do a Venn diagram. Or maybe do a funnel approach, which reduces the space of what you're searching for to get to an answer. This is one solution. I'm not saying this is the only solution, but the idea that I'm trying to raise over here is that previously you would think of searches being like, hey, I can do one search at a time. Now you can run 20 searches, you can run 50 searches behind the scenes, which leads us to a very important thing. Search, or SERP, search engine result page, is becoming an intermediate product. Previously, when you would go to Google, so we would go to Google over here, blue t-shirt. They stopped telling you how many links they share, but I think it was here somewhere. But you would get like all these, I don't know, a million outputs that would say these are the shirts that you can look at. This is called search engine result page, by the way, SERP. Now, what is happening or what is changing for you now is that this result is becoming something behind the scenes. And that behind the scenes is leading to doing a bunch of searches on your behalf and returning you a response. This new concept is called retrieval augmented generation, or RAG. Now some of you are like, dude, I was born with RAG. I know all about RAG. Yes, RAG has been, for the past 1 year, we have spoken about RAG. Some of us have spoken so much about RAG that it's going to burn us to our core, but some of you have not heard about it. And I'm here to explain that in search, the level of productivity in search for you now is, again, most of you like this or not like this company. Raise your hand if you don't like it. But Perplexity is, does anybody know, everyone know what Perplexity is? Okay, who does not know what Perplexity is? All right, a bunch of folks.
Yeah, why wouldn't like it? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's great.
It's great, I use it.
Finding it's great. It's the best.
Yeah.
It's about to tell us why we shouldn't like it.
Yeah.
It will be a couple of months, you'll know. Because we as engineers try to reverse engineer a lot of things, and we don't believe that what they have done is worth the valuation that they have, because it's basically Bing results or some other results on top of, which is fine.
The pain point as a ChatGPT user was that you can't really fact check, and then they actually give you the sources, and then
Yes.
they also give you the links to the videos and images.
Yeah, but they were just a wrapper company.
Yeah, but the value is what the market is willing to pay you.
Yeah. So
Yes, and the
it's all-
valuations are, I agree,
So,
but the valuations are messed up in a lot of, because if somebody can build this in 2 days, there are a ton of companies that have built this in 2 days. Like there's literally, if you Google engineer who built Perplexity clone in a weekend, they have not outsourced the open source any of their course. Everyone has figured out what they have done. So what we are trying to put that in the realm is that, I don't want to shit over them. They're a good company. They have a $2.5 billion valuation, and this is sour grapes right now.
But that's how the bubble started.
Yes.
But it's not about like that, the technology, right? It's about solving the user's problem.
Exactly. And company, the way they did it, and see, I think the engineer part of us, right, of me and some of the engineers here, is that it's not that great. I don't know what's going on.
Perplexity is not happy with you as well.
Yeah,
exactly.
they can hear me. No, I've spoken to Arvind about it, the CEO. Like there's been conversations around it, and they have great ideas about what they want to do. Again, I'm speaking more from the engineering perspective, not talking about the product. I'm showing you the product, right? Because this is the best product for demo. So anyways, sorry, getting into it on what it does.
No, but that's a good point. But so if we go back to your question about what can Gen AI do for organizations, and I think you made a great point. This is solving an organization's problem, irrespective of the simplicity or the wizardry that they use in the engineering level.
There's no wizardry.
No. But the point that I'm trying to say is that are we gonna focus on the solution that is given to the organizations and the users, or what it took to build it?
Absolutely the solution, and that's why we're here.
Okay.
I keep coming up with the engineer part.
But let's have really a discussion after that about it, because this is really an interesting topic. How to evaluate Gen AI.
Like having an easier access for like customized GPT, if that's a value proposition, then like a ChatGPT is probably a good platform. But as far as like, better Google Assistant, Perplexity is actually
Exactly, and that's why I want to talk about them. They got ahead of the curve. They're evaluated. Like the other side is they got evaluated because they got 100 million users. I don't know if they have 100 million users, and what we don't like is their claims and the technology that they go behind or they stand against, because when you put it in the community, it gets beaten down pretty quickly. But that's besides the point. Some of you don't even know what Perplexity is. So what I'll tell you is that I'll explain to you what Perplexity is. Perplexity is, if you write blue t-shirt, apparently I can't type, blue t-shirt, sorry. Something in my blue t-shirt for golf. So before they show you results, this is what Google would give you, like a bunch of different things, like millions and millions of outputs. What this website does is apparently not working right now, but
Definitely not worth 2.5 million.
He has the IP block. He has a firewall rule.
I am actually. Can we call them? This is very rare. They don't go down. So you see, what they have done is that they have read the articles for you. They've read 10, 15, 20 links for you, and once they have read those links, they've summarized the results for you. So basically, based on the search results, there are several options available for blue t-shirts, Adidas, the go-to-market statement, print polo, FootJoy. So now you have a reference point. And before you say, oh, how is this the best reference? So let me counter you with a question in your head right now. Folks who live in Toronto. All right, so I'm going to ask you a question. Can you recommend me a place to eat?
In Toronto?
No, I'm going to ask her.
Pie.
Just pie?
Like at the Thai restaurant.
Okay, so it's called Pie, P-I-E. And so that's one. Any other?
Bars about.
Okay, so you gave me 2 recommendations. You have a certain amount of bias in your thinking that you think I can afford that food. But so anyone who knows me, this guy won't pay more than $10 for food. So if you knew that I won't pay $15 for food, what would you recommend me? Anyone else? Any food that you would recommend me? Meg. I'm talking about food, not plastic. I mean, so I will get to a specific thing. You would say go eat a shawarma or a doner kebab or something like that. But okay, we all, like if I were to ask individually each one of you, if you live in Toronto, what food you would recommend me, you will give me 4 or 5 options based on your bias and some understanding. You're not gonna give me a book to read on, let's say, 10 million books to read. So there is a bias in their responses also, but it is good enough with sources to get you say, oh, I'm gonna trust them. That is what they're doing good. Or that is what RAG is, and they got ahead of the curve in building this out. They got ahead of the curve and they built a great product for product. But I mean, yes, there's a different conversation about engineering, and this is all in good faith because they are where they are.
Yeah, but how did they become what they are?
Because they were just ahead of the curve. Because they built the first company, the first version was just a wrapper over GPT. They literally took exactly the same thing what GPT was doing with internet. They just made it free. And the way they paid for it is through raising a ton of money. Right? And now they've improved it, they've made changes to it, they've made it their own indexing, and they're doing a bunch of things on top of it, which is improving, and that's how startups are. But they are the first company that has sort of went out and said, we're gonna pitch against Google. And Google's like, good luck.
Sorry, I have a question. I often hear the RAG in context of customizing the GPT in your context of proprietary information and so on. But you talk about this is more still like a general knowledge basis, right? So like, what aspect of it is that? I'm just curious.
So I'll explain. So, what is RAG? RAG is retrieval augmented generation. What that means is retrieval means search. So the first part is, I'm gonna fall. The first part is just the search. You write a query, you get a bunch of results that are links that relate to it. The second part is reading them. And then the third part is the generation. So basically you give a prompt to GPT and say, I would like you to read the following excerpts for different websites, and I want you to summarize the results for me, which look like this. So there's no there's some fine tuning. I don't want to talk about fine tuning here because it's going to make things a little crazy. But there's no customization per se. It is just augmentation. What it does is that it just reads like the way you do prompt. You write a prompt. Write me an article on dark matter. You're just writing a prompt and it's generating, right? Over here, what you do is say, hey, here's a lot of information. I want you to rewrite it in a certain way. So step 1, search. Step 2, scrape the websites. They scrape the websites. They read what's on those websites. And then they push that entire thing into a context or like a prompt, which summarizes this as an output. That is what retrieval augmented generation is.
But how the user interact with is, I don't see from a customer journey perspective that different from how the user will interact with the ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
Like they can literally do this, and the exact same, I guess not as optimized, but similar experience will be received by the user.
Yeah.
So
I simply can explain it. It is just one block in the middle, like ChatGPT doesn't have this block. Even if you ask it, it can generate something random. But RAG, if it cannot find it in a knowledge base, it can say, I cannot find that answer. That's the thing that it relies on fact. So there is one step in the RAG. It should depend on some facts.
So I'll give you guys a very simple example. Let's say this is, let's click on one of the websites that they've given, okay? And this is really bad example. Let me pick up another example. So what they have done is, if I were to take this as an output for you, and I would go to Anthropic, and I would say summarize this result. This is what's happening in behind the scenes. This is what RAG is. You get a search, you get links for the search. It reads on your behalf. It reads the answers which are, or it reads the websites, the content in those websites. And then there's a prompt behind the scenes, which is summarize this result for me with making sure all the links are visible. This is the thing on the left that you see, that's the output. This is retrieval augmented generation. That's all there is to it. Sorry? Yeah, it's paraphrasing the website content. You still look very confused.
I think what it's getting at, because I'm also thinking about the same thing. It's like when you build a RAG solution, you typically also build your embeddings, right? Your vectors.
Yeah.
And that gives the contextual information that against the prompt that you're giving it, it's gonna give you.
There's no embedding over here.
No, okay, but
Yeah.
I think that's what you're getting at.
Yes.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
Because in a corporate setting, that's typically how RAG solutions are being built, because we don't just want to give random generic information. We want to give corporate specific, results back. Not just, okay, you're asking for a, blue shirt. Well, I work for Adidas. I'm only going to give you Adidas models, not Nike. Right? So I think that's kind of the piece that's the next slide. Okay. So what I wanted to get you guys to was first, and yes, let me get you to that point. And I want to stay away from embedding, is just because most people don't know what embedding is, or I would expect less people to know about embedding. We can talk about that, and I'll explain you the workflow. But essentially, again, the original point that I was trying to raise is, what is productivity? It is reading on your behalf the web URLs and summarizing them, and then giving you a set of results. And this goes further into what we call the RAG, or the retrieval augmented generation. And what is retrieval augmented generation? RAG is a process of optimizing the output of a large language model, so it references an authoritative knowledge base outside of its training data source before generating a response. What does this mean? This just means, let's say you have documents. You have proprietary documents in your company, and ChatGPT should not have access to them. It cannot summarize a meeting for you, right? Or it cannot understand, or it cannot tell you that when was the last time, hey, what was the reference that we had about this company previously, or can you give me information about my customer X? Let's say you're trying to answer this question. What happens now is, and this is now available. Does everybody use Notion, or some people use Notion? Notion has this search engine now, and I'll explain about it. But what you can do with RAG now is you can use, I'll give you a good example over here. Notion. Okay, can everybody see my screen? Yeah, right. So what I will write is, so I pushed a question. Can you tell me about the database we are using?
right? And what happened? The database can use a style task. This database, okay, I will talk about. Hold on.
Is it the paid version?
Yes. Okay. So what happened over here is that it was able to read through your documents and tell you that based, like if you were to ask this question that, hey, what is Hamza's latest task? Now, how would you find it as a normal human being? You would go to the task page, you would find out that what are my tasks, and you can list them, and you can, like I'm on the task page anyway. But what if you had 100 employees, you had 120 employees, and you wanted to create a report that, hey, we're going to send a reminder to our employees that this is what they need to work on. This ability to scale up one project manager working on the company and trying to do that is what you can ask a question and say, hey, can you tell me what Hamza is doing right now? What task he is working on right now? And it will tell you that these are the tasks that Hamza has been working on. So what it did is that it ingested all the documents that exist in Notion. So what it did is that, and this is to your point that you were confused about, what it did is that it, this is again some of the previous, but what it really does is that it reads your documents. It reads all the documents in your ecosystem or that you allow it to. It gives you give access to the documents that you say, hey, I want you to read all these documents, like maybe 20, 30, 200, 500, a million. So this is what my company does, to be exact. We help, and this is called enterprise knowledge management. We help organizations build internal search engines that help them ingest millions of documents in their architecture so that when you ask a question, it is able to derive an answer for you. And the way it works is that when you ingest documents, machine is unable to understand text as words. So you have to convert that into numbers. That number is called embeddings. You store them in something which is called a vector database. And then when you ask a question, it looks up that query in a vector database, and that vector database returns you a chunk of data. You rewrite it as a summary output. That is what just happened in a Notion document. Now, some of you might not know what embedding is, some of you don't know what context is, but what I'm trying to get again in that information set is that there is a like, let's say you're all product managers and you don't care about how to build it. I don't want you to worry about how you build it. I want you to only worry about the business problems. How would you formulate as a business problem? What is the business problem you're trying to solve over here?
So I'm trying to find the relevant documents to my question.
You're not trying to find the relevant documents. You're trying to find the answer
Yeah.
that is in the relevant documents, which is sourced.
From the documents.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
So we are not looking for documents. We're looking for answers. We're looking for answers which can get to us faster. We're looking for answers which we would have to spend 2 hours, 3 hours to get to that point.
I would also have in a secure manner.
In a secure manner, in a secure, dedicated, which we also do. We should be 1-800 Traversaal. But what I'm trying to say is that we want our data to be secure. We want our data to be readily available. We want it to answer questions for us, because when you, anybody with more than 2 kids?
More than 2?
Yeah. Anyone here with more than 2 kids? Do you confuse your children? Shit. But what I've heard is that the third one is, because I'm the third one, what I've learned is the third one is always, they confuse you with the other one and they always call you with someone else's name, which is usually the golden child. But anyways,
The third one is forgotten.
yes. Right. Anyways, this is gonna get dark very fast. Childhood trauma. But what I'm trying to explain is that there is we cannot manage that many people beyond 5, 6. Like if you work in a customer base, you have tons of customers. Unless you're like Don, who like I remember all my customers, I know everyone in the company. If you're like me, I have 12 people in the company. I have trouble remembering what is the task for everyone. I have trouble remembering my own tasks. Right? So what happens is that I need something that can give me access to information really, really fast. So the first productivity of ChatGPT or GPT-based systems is ability to generate text and write articles and things for you. The second, which is becoming the most powerful, is knowledge discovery, knowledge management from tons and tons of your documents. Those of you who maintain thousands of repos or have thousands of different code files, you will know what I'm talking about. If who's a tech manager, like a leader in their organization who manage code base, do you look for code? Like how do you, first of all, how do you maintain code in your organization? Like you have GitHub or something?
Yeah. So GitHub and
What is the basic number? Like what is the? Give me a number of repositories you might have in your organization.
right now, approximately 25.
Okay. You have 25 repos. We have 25 repos. Anyway, small organization. Who has 1,000 in their organization? 1,000 repos.
Like hundreds.
Yeah, you have hundreds.
You just go on GitHub and you search for a keyword of the
Yes. But what if you were to write, hey, can you regenerate a new code for me that will allow me to build a API function that do X, Y, and Z for me, that is based on your repository information. This is what the productivity part is. What you do with GitHub is that most often we copy paste. One problem with my coding is that after 6 months, I don't know who wrote this code, what I was on. Some of you who code probably know this. Like we forget what did we even write or what we were on. But the problem is that when you're onboarding someone new, imagine the pain of onboarding someone who's a tech person in your team. What is number one? You give them a code base with no documentation. And you're like, good luck. Right? This is where your capability comes in, where you're like, hey, listen, why don't you go to this assistant, and this is the code base. We have no documentation because we are a great company. And you will say, ask whatever questions you need to ask this system that will understand what your questions are and maybe help you get started because they want to write a code to call an API or anything. That's the ingestion part. You're ingesting that information. You're making it readily available in terms of responses beyond relevant data points. You're not getting relevant data like folders. Like even now when you search for something, you get the .py or whatever file, right? You don't actually get, hey, this is how you should write this code. This is going one step further. It is ingesting or understanding the code that was written, and it is creating an output of that code, which reduces the time it would have taken. For me, in my case, it's forever. But like I literally need somebody to sit down with me and tell me exactly what to do, and that person might not have the time to do that for you. So your onboarding, like those of you who run bigger teams, you know onboarding is a big problem, especially for tech people, because they need to understand the code base. This is a great solution over there. Project managers who don't know what the people of 20 are doing, you can actually use these systems for retrieval. So if we were to recap, we started with frictionless environments. So Notion, all these documents give us frictionless ecosystem. Then we go into productivity, which reduces the time to get to something. Then we go into the use cases of GPT, which is first is generation of text, which is, write me an article, write me a story. Tell me how to respond to this email from my manager without sounding a horrible person. Those are some of the things we do. And then the second part is that we actually take it to information retrieval systems, and we can build search engines for our customers, as I showed you the example for Blue Shirt. And the second part is internal search and organization. Like, how do you even find files in your company? Like, just think about it, like reflect on it. How do you find documents in your company? Like, you have SharePoint, some of you must have SharePoint, and you just put the keyword in. Some of you have Google search, like a Google Drive. You have Conference, I hate Conference. Who has Jira and have not liked it?
Yes.
Sorry, who has Jira and you really like it? Right? I mean, right? So basically, why do they exist? Because they exist for documentation purposes. We are just building a system on top of it that's like, hey, you don't need to go through your 600 web pages of Jira, because everybody calls their team as Dark Knight, Batman, Marvel movie, Loki. Like, that's what nerds do. We have a very limited space. Go ahead.
A lot of times, if you work with Jira and Teams files, a lot of them are junk. How does, so if I'm using search to find that junk, wouldn't that be kind of junk too?
But it can process through junk and say, hey, we won't give you that information. You can actually these systems are getting smarter in identifying, oh, this is too redundant. This might seem like an old code. This might not be valid anymore. So you're building better systems now. Those systems are able to understand the responses so that it is like, like in Perplexity, you saw that it did not give you a 10-year-old website. It gave you current websites because it scraped them and it said, okay, I want relevancy. So when you get the retrieval part, the search engine part, you get retrieval. You can define how the retrieval works. I only want you to look at the documents which are 6 months old. I only want you to look at documents which are 3 months old. I don't know what I'm looking for, search for everything. This is the same example like select star from star, and you go crazy. All right, time to travel. I'm gonna show you guys a very simple example. Anyone with upcoming travel? Anyone? Okay, you know what? Since most of you are here from Toronto, I'm gonna show you a great example of productivity. So I'm gonna say I'm going to Toronto, and I'm going for a few days. I'm going with my partner, of course, she'll kill me if I don't go with her. And I want a great food and hidden gems and unique shopping experience, okay, historical landmark. And then I submit this. And I've submitted, it takes about 2 minutes to get a response. But if you were to start your own, if you were to put together an itinerary for someone, all of a sudden you have recommendations for places to stay. Okay. Now, these might not be the best recommendations, but they're optimized, like at least they're in the center. They're not like everywhere in the world. They're like just literally in the center. And they are okay price. I don't think they're too expensive. So you actually know that, hey, these are some of the hotels I can stay. But what's better is you have different options of things to do with call to action. The call to action is very important over here. ChatGPT does not have call to action. ChatGPT might even create hallucinated data. It might make up things. But over here, you're actually getting an output of places that are clickable, that you can look at the images of. And I think this is a really good restaurant. I don't if anyone can confirm or if you've been there. But there are a bunch of restaurants over here. I previously went to Kensington Market. Anyone who likes this place? So what I would like you all to do is tell me how good you feel about this result. This is the result that has been put together for me based on just a few inputs of what I should do in Toronto. And some of you might be like, oh, this didn't cover even some of the very important things, which is fine. because that is your bias. But if you were to look at some of the responses, it would say number 2 most popular attraction. So if I had never been to Toronto, I would be driven by this. I'll be like, okay, you know what? They're putting in things which are highly recommended, because we previously used to go to TripAdvisor to validate our search. Now they're going further, is that they're taking your search or something that you might have searched, putting it together and cataloging it for you in one space. And if I were coming here for the first time, I might use 60-70% of this. So now what they've done is that they've reduced the time that I would have taken to getting to an answer by a huge, like they've given me a starting point. Now I know where I need to be, and I can Google other things, I can fill out other things over here. And I know where to stay, I know the activities that are happening. So all of a sudden, it's like a primer for you. It's like your onboarding for Ontario. Oh, sorry, for Toronto, it is just giving you, this is how you need to onboard into Toronto, and this is your information. Now, some of you, again, I agree, would be like, oh, this is terrible, this is not good, it does not have pi, so I'm not gonna go with it. But I don't know anything. It's a great starting point. Again, I'm saying it's a great starting point, and you can, in the near future, which we are working with TripAdvisor on, that you can customize this based on your feedback. And you'll be like, hey, I'm Hamza, I like cheap stuff. Make sure it's hole in the wall, like amazing food, but it has to be less than $20 per person or $15 per person. They can update the restaurant results based on that. And I will be like, hey, I need to do, one thing I always do when I go to a city, if they have, is, the free walking tour. That is something that I think has become a great part, because they introduce you to so many good things. So I would like that to be included. So what we are doing over here is that this is not personalized yet. It's not like a lot of information about you and based on my feedback. It's just a few inputs. But the V2 of this is personalization. Hamza travels like this, so he will like that. Now, what does this refer to? Your Netflix experience. Remember I told you I'll come back to Netflix. So Netflix recommendation system is looking at your historical data and recommending you things to do. Gen AI is promising hyper-personalization with cold search. Now, what does cold search mean? Cold search means that they don't know you. They don't know enough about you. So they can't have a historical data point about you. However, when you give your preferences, what TripAdvisor can do is, let me go here. Where did it go? TripAdvisor can say, hey, this person has given this many preferences. Let's run all these queries. Let's run all these search queries in the background. They run all these search queries in the background and can generate a V2 version of this, which is your TripAdvisor output, which is so unique that it becomes your identification. It becomes your unique display. And you'll be like, you know what, I'm so used to this now that you will stop going to any other website. After a while, you'll stop validating it also. Like when you guys started using Perplexity, you would initially look, like this is a research, you would look at the results, like the actual result to validate. But slowly you got used to it. And now you don't even think about validating the response. Because, or the relevant documents, because you trust the system. The retrieval is so good that the generation is going to be very, very strong for me.
Yeah, the same thing with Google came out, that you knew that the first 10 pages will have your answer.
Yes.
Because of PageRank, right?
Yes. So you did not trust it
Initially.
Yes. Like I also don't remember the time, like this is so long ago that we imagine not trusting. I think Google search has become worse also. I've worked at Google search and we had to make a lot of money, so we had to put a lot of ads. And so imagine what Perplexity did is that, hey, we'll give you subscription to search. And they're working on this. But imagine a model. We say, hey, I'm going to pay $7 per day, or per month for search. And I will never show you any ad. All the results that you get are personalized only for you. Think of that business model. You will happily pay $7. You know why? Because we are all sick and tired of seeing the Google ads. We almost are like, I can't trust Google. Like, I'm a data scientist. I try to learn about React. People who use React developers. I try to learn about React. Guess what? Join this bootcamp. Join this. Do this. Like, it's an ad, dude. I don't want it. Like, it's like Quota Factory all over again. Those who know the reference know the reference. But it's basically, you're just seeing all these ads all over. It's a billboard. It's a freaking billboard. We're sick of the billboards. And Gen Z is even sicker of them. So you all might be great users. You might think, oh, I'm the best user ever. These systems are not built for you. These systems are being built for Gen Z, who was born on frictionless. So they don't know what it's like to hear that modem voice going off. Some of you might also not know that reference. But we lived in a modem, like we would go and have tea and come back and the page would still be loading, right? This is 96, 97. Oh, hold on. This is 96, 97. So, but now they are born on frictionless and they are now getting used to the personalization aspect and the productivity aspect so much that we are in conversations with companies for UX design where there is no recommendation system when you land on a page. Like those of you who use e-commerce, you've probably seen that when you go to a website, you're being recommended 30 different things. Or like recommendation number 1, recommendation number 2, 3, 4. All of that, like if I take you to Amazon page right now, right? Look at the number of recommendations, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, like there's so many of those, right? This is being changed now. The research shows that the Gen Z, who is the next billion user, are not interested in that. All they want is say, what do you want? And you'll say, hey, I'm going here and I want, sorry, I'm just being mean now. But I'm going here and I need this. And they'll say, okay, I got you. And they won't show you all the recommendations in the world. They'll just show you 5 things and you're like, I'm so happy with this. And how do you validate this? ChatGPT is doing that to you. You don't get millions of different versions of an essay. You get 1 or 2 or 3. And you're so happy with it. You're like, oh my God, this is the greatest. You make some changes to it and it's ready to go. This is the same thing. Choices are being limited in the name of personalization. Of course, there's a whole different conversation on ads being changed and the way you see ads now. Because you could, like, if there are different costs. So if you want to pay for an ad up here, it's a different cost. If you want to pay up here, put it up here, it's a different cost. If you want to put it here, it's a different cost. All of those things are changing because now personalization content is becoming at a pace or getting to a pace or a place where it will be, how can we help you? And you will write or speak to it what you're looking for and it will give you those 5, 6 results. That's what the research is showing. I'm not saying it's there yet, but guess what? Even over here in TripAdvisor, you're getting a bunch of results. Eventually you will start trusting it. And then you'll be like, hey, it wasn't TripAdvisor, I just picked it up. Because you also don't know on Netflix right now, what are the best shows for you. You do trust the system. Of course, you have looked up different shows that you want to see, but they recommend you, and guess what? You see it, you're like, oh yes, it's here. Like you're almost like it's a reward function. the recommendation is a reward function. It's like, hey, this is for you. And you're like, oh my God, I've been waiting for this. And then, like, these are all placed things. All right, I'm going to pause here. Okay, question so far. And can we do a time check? How's the time? Where are we on time? 11:20. 11:20. Okay, we can take a break at 11:30, and then we have one hour after that. Right. Okay. All right. Questions.
So one of the problems with the Google search as compared to DuckDuckGo or something else, it is super personalized. Sometimes I want something fresh. Sometimes I want new ideas. Is that possible?
Yes.
Like with Google search.
Yes. Yes. Because it's just about re-ranking. We all get the same results. We just re-rank them. If I were to ask you to name all the menu items of McDonald's, what was the first thing that comes to your mind?
Big Mac.
Big Mac. It's top of mind. But if I say, hey, I want you to recall all of them, what would be the other one?
Flurries, French fries.
Nuggets, Oreo, right? So there is retrieval in your head, but you're ranking it. This is the same thing as you would do with another system. With these search engines is that you're retrieving everything, but you're re-ranking them based on the personalization of information. That's all what we're doing. All systems return all the answers, like all the documents, but they're ranked differently, which is the relevance of the documents, which you have said. Those are the relevant documents because they have a higher relevance to that system. That's what's happening. I know before you there was one more hand I saw, I remember.
I just have a question about the Netflix, because the way Netflix shows the recommendations, it's quite overwhelming, right? You have like 20, maybe 10
Yes.
at once.
Yes.
But you're saying that Netflix, the personalization got to the point that users are not bothered by how the
Yes.
recommendations are present.
Yes.
Because they trust that
Yeah.
information. Okay.
Right? And that is like when you do a new search on a new website, it's called cold search because they don't have any information about you. Like they don't have prior information about you. And they would rely on your historical search to give you better results. Now you can write a query. I'm looking for a man, 6'5", blue eyes, trust fund. There are so many different things in that you're able to personalize based on by breaking down the query into multiple pieces and being able to generate an output on that. That's what we are seeing more and more these days. Right? That's the power of Gen AI, that it has the ability to drive that. You had a question?
So rather than hyper-personalization, could you build out that sort of a character? So I can ask ChatGPT to give me an answer as if it were for a judge or a...
Yeah.
Would that be more useful for the service provider and the user? Because by building that out for less granularity, you have a wider discovery space, which would be more interesting. And I know you can tweak, as you said, but is that more...
See, that's a tool.
Easier, quicker, cheaper, and granular?
Yes, so it's basically depending on this problem, pain points that you have. It's less about what you can, yes, you can do a ton of things. I'm more about think of it as a tool of the problem it's trying to solve. In your case, if that is a problem that you want to solve, that I wanted less granular and more grander and more wider, yes. What we have struggled with, teams who have data science teams, people who are part of data science teams, data science, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many of you had hackathons for LLMs? Right? Why the hell on earth are data scientists supposed to figure out the business problem and build something on top of that? The thing that we are trying to do reverse engineer wrong is that we are trying to build solutions. We took PDFs and built a search engine on top of them and say, hey, we're going to sell this. This is not how we solve problems, or we used to solve problems. We used to say, what is the pain point? Can you tell me what is the pain point? And I want to take you guys to this slide. I want to take you guys to this slide. If you take nothing from this presentation today, just take this. There are three kinds of people or teams or architectures. Like there's AI aware, there's AI enabler, and there's AI expert. What is happening is that you have these people, and I've not sourced this. If somebody finds the source, please let me know. I forgot where I copied this from. But anyways, what is the starting point for each one of them? Business goal. We have customers who leave items in the cart. Can we build a system to remind them better or get them to better products? We have customers who don't know, who can't find the products they're looking for. Can we improve their experience? We have customers who spend hours researching for places and things to do in a new city. Can we build them can we build them something that can reduce and increase productivity? So we have business goals as the first thing. Now I'm going to introduce you to a new term that I have coined. It's called AI confused. And AI confused is a term I use for people who think what AI can do for you, because apparently they know all about and this is like whatever sticks on the wall is AI. Whatever sticks on the wall is AI in today's world. And that is what we are doing wrong. We are trying to think of reverse engineering a solution to a problem. If we spend time thinking about the problems, there are enough problems to solve. Like I'll give you an example of speech impairment. That's a great problem to solve. And almost all of a sudden, some of you are engineers who are like, oh, I know the solution. I think if we fine tune it and get more training data and use synthetic data, you're like, your mind is going crazy. Because you have a problem to solve. We are not going to grow you as, let's say, here I'm considering all of you to be product managers. Some of you might be data scientists, some of you might be something else. But I'm considering all of you to be product managers right now, who's strategic person. And this is the exercise that I will leave you with for 15 minutes. It's very limited time, so we're going to give you 15 minutes. What I want you to do is think of a customer pain point. It could be any customer. Each group 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Think of a customer pain point that you have seen, that you have identified, that you have noticed, and see how AI can fix that for you. Think of what generative AI at the end of the day is what it is. Like, I don't want you to worry. I've only mentioned you two things: frictionless productivity. I'm not asking you to build a solution. I'm just asking you to think of business pain point that you have seen with your customers. I'm sure each one of you have worked. That's why I asked what's the weirdest job. So each one of you have at least done one job, right? In that job, what were the pain points that you saw? What did you notice as a problem that your customers have had? And just identify that as something that you would like to solve, that you think in realm of productivity. Please don't focus on we're going to use ChatGPT for this solution because this solution will require prompt engineering with some fine tuning. I don't want that answer. All I want to say is that we want to improve productivity for our customers. So that's your umbrella. The umbrella is we want to improve productivity. We have just imagined that if you had 4 more people, this problem could be solved, or this problem would take less time to solve. And you don't have 4 more people. TripAdvisor does not have a TripAdvisor expert sitting online and giving you recommendations. They just say this is the website, go figure out. They won't scale. Perplexity has built a search engine which reads the links for you and returns you responses. Glean and we, Traversaal, we are a company that understands your documents, internal documents, and returns you the most relevant documents with a great answer associated with that. Those are the productivity related things. Again, the speech impairment is another one of them. Think of other things. I mean, imagine you want to learn French and there's a system that is retroactively working with you. Of course, there are systems, Duolingo and others have come up, but they are working back and forth in order for you to get there. TripAdvisor is an example which is improving your productivity by reducing the time you take to search, do and record and make the. Who makes an Excel sheet for travel? OCD. I'm one of them. I have Excel sheets by like first half, second half, maybe night. Right, but like optimistic goals, realistic goals. But all I'm saying is that with each group, I'll give you 15 minutes. So we'll end at 11:30 at this point. We'll take a break. I know we've been going on for a while, but all the only outcomes that I need from you is group name and each highlight whoever will speak on your behalf. So your team, Don, it will not be you from your team.
Oh, why not?
Because I want, because you will take over. No, but I would like you to promote and improve productivity.
There you go. That's a better way to position it, right?
Right. No, and identify the person in your team who will speak on your behalf, on the team's behalf, and let them push the business problem. We want to improve the productivity for this problem. You don't use ChatGPT. I've been given a question to improve productivity. Can you give me a step-by-step process, please? Like, get better with your brain, push your brain, come up with a unique problem. So, and whichever team wins, again, one of the person will get a T-shirt. Go ahead.
Can you break it down? Are we going on break now? Or are
So you're gonna break, and within that break, you're gonna discuss.
What's the break?
Me not talking. All right, guys. Thank you. We'll get back here at 11:45. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So, hi everyone. Welcome back. I hope you guys had a night break. So what we'll do now is we'll start from the reverse. So group 6, who's your designated survivor? Yeah, right. Okay. So what I would love for you to do is we'll go back to the same track: name, organization, weird question, and the business problem. Folks, can we chill down? Group 6.
My name is Steven. I work at Air Miles, email. I'm a data scientist.
Yeah.
And I love my jobs as well. But I would say the most interesting one for me is I used to work at Royal Bank, where I was a teller. Like I called people. I called really rich people. And I would ask them.
You will never call me.
So like my boss would give me a list of phone numbers to call, and everyone on that list had like maybe $1 million asset because they're all like business owners. So we cold call them and say, hey, I'm from RBC. I work for the wealth management department. Is anyone handling your assets right now? And I would just call for that whole summer in a room and just did that the whole day. That was interesting. I had some pretty interesting calls and conversations.
Take me off your list.
No, I had people say the same thing, but in a much worse manner.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
This is a PG-13.
Anyway, so that was my weird, interesting job. But yeah, our group, we had we talked about this problem where I think one of us, or she actually works at this company where it splits like the expenses, where you can, like if you go to a restaurant, you had dinner with your friends, you can split your bill. And the problem was, can we actually reduce the amount of manual data entry to do that? And so we were just kind of brainstorming, like, how do we do that with maybe AI or LLMs in general. We had some interesting conversations, so we were saying, like, one way is maybe we can give some prompts or give some context about how this can be split. And then in different models as well, like where you can just talk to it, so like a text-to-speech, or speech-to-text mechanism, or submit like a receipt, and then it will process that.
So what I would like you to do is frame it as a 10-second pitch. And the example would be, you can pick up someone's name. Like Sophie spends too much time splitting bills between her employees, agents, or someone. She would like a system that can help her do it automatically for her to help improve her productivity for X or Y. I don't. Again, we're not looking for solution, but I would like you to think about it like that.
Yeah.
So, what's your problem statement?
I think you put it really nice.
Thank you.
Yeah, so like increase productivity when we are trying to split bills.
Yes. So basically, splitting bills is a big headache. It's $1 billion industry. That is how you pitch to VCs. It's a $1 billion. Imagine a time when you went to a restaurant and you had to split bills with all your friends. You were not taught that math. And then what if there was a system that could do it all for you? Right? So the rest of the groups, I want you to formulate your problem like that. So that now we are looking at the opportunity. Because now we can all relate that we all go out with friends and now we can split bills. Now we might pay ourselves because we're like, okay, we make money so we can pay. But students, really there's this thing like, they have to split and all that. So I think, again, the solution is not important. The way you, so now if you start thinking about what are the different aspects of that, you want a system that can take in, let's say, a picture of a receipt or something, let's say, right? Or you want to say, hey, this is an app, we order through this app and we identify the people who are dining with us. So let's say you have an app, and I'm just giving an example, spitballing here. Like you have an app in which you will say, hey, we're going to order from here, let's say Nando's. And we're going to include people like you have in Uber, let's say. Uber, you can split fares by just adding that person. Again, that's a definition or like proximity to a solution. But the business problem is you want to reduce, you want to help reduce, and that itself, you could have a huge market for that. Because there's so many people who, and even in larger corporations, in enterprise level, right? We use product like a Ramp. Ramp is one of the products we use. Some of you might use Ramp. Ramp is this product in which you can upload receipts and things and it will automate, expense sheets. Because again, when you have 20 people and 30 people and 50 people in a company, it's very difficult to automate that. Like manual implementation. Anyone who use Concur in it? How much do you hate it, right?
Sucks like big time.
Right? So
sorry, I use it every week. Sucks.
Right? I mean, travel through Concur, I might as well travel myself. Oh, don't travel. All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Group 5. Who's your?
My name is Gigi. I'm currently working at Bell as an intern on the AI tech PMT. And then for our problem, it was that Hamza spent a lot of time navigating unclear data requests from different sources, and then the potential solution, what if there was a system that gave you the possible answers and pointed you in the right direction to your work.
Did you just pitch my company to me? But like that's true, right? Like you spend too much time thinking about that, and this is becoming a very important use case. Like any and every organization that you work in, like you're an intern as a PM, you should pitch that as a problem, and say, hey, Alex and this person, like you can actually pick up an example to get this report put together. You spend too much time. What if there was a system that could understand your request, write a nice summary for you, and actually highlight and cite all the relevant documents for that purpose? That's a win-win. You should see a pitch deck. All right. Okay. Group 4. Group 4.
So my name's Caitlin. I'm in healthcare and executive director of a children's practice that deals with developmental and special needs. So imagine you're a CEO of a hospital, and post-pandemic, you have a 2.5-year wait list for your surgeries for patients. So people are waiting 2.5 years to get hips and knees replaced. And so your problem is that you have a lot of constraints, but you're looking to reduce that wait list time of 2.5 years for your orthopedic surgeries for hips and knees. And so how do you leverage tools like ML and AI to be able to reduce that wait So that's the problem.
What do you think is the solution? Like let's say if you were to add humans to that, and this is a more nuanced problem than other ones, and how would more humans solve this problem?
How would more humans?
Like if you were to, like what is the solution to, other than ML? ML is an automation. How would you, what are the challenges, like problems within that?
Yeah, so there are many that could take well beyond the time of
Yeah, I'm sure.
But one, we have a very fragmented system where there's a lot of silos operating, and even if it's the same specialties between hospitals, between community care providers versus hospital providers, there's a lot of gaps, as all Canadians know. So there's also obvious resource issues, where even despite these realistic wait times, there's still closures of operating rooms during the summer because there are not enough nurses, or surgeons are taking vacation, or so on and so forth. So more people will help by, more people and more money will help by increasing capacity, essentially operationally.
What is the lowest hanging fruit in this? What is the lowest hanging fruit that you feel like, hey, if we just get this out of the way, we will be good to go?
Well, everything's incremental.
Yeah.
There is no true low-hanging fruit. However, consolidation of individual patient information on an ongoing basis, like continually monitoring them, will help facilitate this type of problem.
Amazing. Is matching an issue also?
Matching is a problem just because these types of problems is very regionalized. So for example, let's say it's a 78-year-old lady who has osteoarthritis and needs replacement for both their knees.
My mom.
Yeah. So a person like that who lives in Toronto isn't easily able to go drive up 3 hours to Sudbury, Ontario to get their knees replaced. They need to really stay within their geographic catchment area, which is a terrible system, but that's the reality.
And that's true. So my wife is an oncologist. We used to live in Rochester, New York, so not one of the most active places, and there were a lot of people who struggled with getting, like, there are businesses that have sprung out to just get patients from one part to another. I know I'm digressing, but I would love to sit down and have a conversation, just because I feel like the mission and vision of a company, like, of course everybody wants to make money, maximizing shareholders' wealth is, the first thing they teach you in MBA, but it's also to solve problems. Like, can we go beyond just document retrieval systems and actually say, hey, you know what, we're going to build something which is going to add value. That is a business problem. Like, thank you for sharing this, and I think this is a really good thing, that hey, there's no clear-cut solution, but can we automate different parts? Can we start with consolidation of all the systems? The thing I mentioned with Modern Family, like, I think there was a great solution. I don't know if they went ahead with it and the company exists, but like, imagine you move from US to Canada. Oh my God, everything is new. You move from India to US, or to Canada. Like, some of you are immigrants, some of you have parents, you would want to move them here, but all their doctors, all their informations are there. Like, our systems are not global. And the biggest problem with our current systems is that they're also isolated from each other. Like, in order to run one company, you need to have 60 different products working in sync with each other that do not talk to each other. So, and everyone is a vendor. So someone has SAP, someone has Oracle, someone, I think those are real problems that should be solved. And GenAI does offer that. It offers the automation. Hey, I'm going to show you how to do this once. I want you to repeat this across the system. That's a great use case. Thank you. All right, I think we have a winner. All right, group 3.
So actually, our business problem builds on what was discussed here.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so I'm really glad we had that discussion. One of the pain points for Canadians is the time that it takes them to get the care that they need in the healthcare. And one of the solutions that we were talking about is having a Gen AI solution that would use the medical records, the data that you gain from the patients. It could be an MRI scan, it could be the vital signs, and provide the doctors with a diagnosis that would reduce the time that it takes for the patients to get to the care that they need by improving the productivity of physicians, and would reduce the strain on the medical staff and the strain that it's on them. And yeah, that was it.
Awesome, thank you. You know, imagine if there was this lowest hanging fruit. You have to call, like you guys call them nurses everywhere. So basically you have to call a hospital, right? And you have to ask questions about your healthcare or when is your appointment, and you have to wait on a line for 20 minutes just for that, right? Imagine there was a system that could answer the most commonly asked questions at a patient level through an AI. That is such a, imagine how much workload, there's a whole study around that how much time can be reduced just by doing that. So in the organizations that you work, think of these small incremental things that you can add as a lowest hanging fruit in terms of, hey, start always with the lowest hanging fruit, the smallest group of place where you can make an impact. Don't go for, hey, we're going to change the world. This is the biggest problem that we have seen in the past, is that we're going to change the world. Don't change the world, change one team, then change 2 teams, then change 3 teams. The less, the more ground up you are in terms of solving your problems, the better solution will be built out, because you have considered the diversity problem at the basic level. The smallest team has the smallest problem, or it could have bigger problem, but you start with one small problem, you go to another team, you see their problems. So you have identified, hey, how to scale to 2 teams, then how to scale to 3 teams. YC has this, Y Combinator has this thing, then build things that don't scale. That's actually there. That's a statement that they use, and that's a very true statement, because build something that you're solving a problem for the smallest, find 100 people that will get benefit from, and then you move on. Right? So 2 medical solutions, I think they're great. 1 document, 1 high school math being taught properly, or we're doing the high school math for you. All right, group 2.
Hi, Hamza. So we actually discussed both these problems. I work at a public sector organization, and I work in BI and reporting, and one of the main KPIs we report on is wait times in Canada, as we discussed. So that is one of the things which we discussed as well, that's very important, but probably there's no solution we can really reach to.
Yeah.
The other thing we discussed was document retrieval. In our organization, the procurement process is very painful. So there's a very lengthy process, and a lot of documents we get, let's say RFP, RFQ, PO, and PR, so everything needs to be followed. And then whenever the final solution we decide on to go with some procurement vendor, that maybe it can involve some kind of bias. That last time this vendor gave very good products, maybe this time we can also go with it. But that's not the case to be sure for.
Yeah.
So that thing, she thought that maybe in order to reduce the time of spending too much time on the document for technical and financial certifications, we can use document retrieval to get there.
So our procurement takes 3 weeks. Let's say the business problem is our procurement takes 3 weeks to happen, which is not based on previous data. It does not take into consideration previous incidents or performance of the vendors at this point. We want to build a system that can reduce the time it takes for us to do procurement, and it can help us get to the best possible. So there's a matching problem that you're trying to solve through, and you're improving the productivity of the time it takes you, and actually getting a better answer. So the good thing about AI is that of course it does the productivity thing, but you can program them to get better results also. And you can define the metrics that you're looking for. Hey, this is how I define success. Those things you can actually just write in English, and it can convert that into a metrics list or re-ranking that could work for you. Right? Awesome. Last but not least, group 1.
Yeah, so my name is Adam. I work at LLG.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to share a real use case that our team has built. It has a real solution for our organization. So basically, the business problem is for our HR department. When we need to hire someone, you receive like hundreds of resumes and cover letters. So the first stage of the screening is for our HR. They either do manual screening to some degree, or they can completely rely on HR software, where you import a PDF file, it will do the screening for you by searching for keywords. But the problem is, first of all, it is time consuming, but more importantly, a lot of times I realize that it will give me wrong candidates.
Yes.
I'm hiring a data scientist with Python coding experience building machine learning models. And then my HR will give me a shortlist with people coming from arts background, from biology. Why? Because they put the keyword Python machine learning in their resume, but they do not actually have the relevant technical background. So what our team built is we built a AI agent using LangChain for our HR department, and we fine-tune our agent using few sharp prompts, using chain of thought, using React to fine-tune our model. So our agent can actually understand the context. It can understand what are the true ideal candidates we're looking for. And then by using that, we reduce the screening process from hours to seconds. And more importantly, it will actually give me the true ideal candidates instead of giving me a whole bunch of candidates who have the correct keywords but not the correct background.
Wow.
And this is a real use case we did for our organization.
I think that is a great answer. Thank you for that. That's a real use case. We are unable to find the best candidates who apply for the jobs because the current ATS system is broke. It's called ATS, right? ATS system is broken.
Yeah.
It only looks at keywords and people can gamify the system. We want to build a system that can really understand. Might as well do research on them. Like if I put my GitHub, right? It should go to, like if I've copied someone else's GitHub even to make a GitHub, at least I have some understanding on how to git clone, right? Or fork. But Mistral, but at least I have done something, right? Like, and that's where you want to say, hey, I love, like, let's get involved. So I think people have figured out how to game systems. Like, what is the theme of this group? Taking too many manual tasks to get to a very redundant, like something which is redundant, needs to happen every single time, takes too much time. We don't actually, like, a human should not be involved in doing that, right? Number two, the project managers, the group of people are spending too much time getting to a answer, and it just takes too much. It's just annoying, and sometimes we don't have the right answer. So basically, redundant problem, knowledge discovery. This is a very unique problem. How would you guys think about, how would we frame this one? Is it a matching problem? Is it a people problem? Is it a redundancy problem? Or can we just call it, it's a complex problem which has multiple tiers to that? And most often, organizations have problems that are very complex. You probably can take benefit of redundancy. You can probably take benefit of the document search. You can probably get benefits of a matching problem. You can probably get benefit of procurement. So this is what we call the perfect storm. And that's what larger organizations deal with. You know, when this new intern kid comes and he says, I'll change everything, and you're like, you're new here? You know, that optimism, and you're like, I'm gonna kill your optimism. Right? That's how complex our lives are also. We are paying for a bunch of things, and sometimes we use them, we don't use them. But essentially, all of you, when you go back to your organizations, think of the smallest problem that you can solve. Start with, hey, we want to change the way patients or people get their times. But you will have to think through, and this is where your strategic thinking comes into play. So what we have done is that we've misplaced our strategic thinking with coding. We look for code for something, don't look for code. again, it goes down to the major thing that I was talking previously is like, look at the problem that you're trying to solve. Once you have identified that problem, once you have identified that problem, you're going towards the business goal. The next part is that you start with the data sourcing. You try to see what kind of data do we have. Procurement, you have data. Document sharing, you have data. Bills and system, you have data. ATS, you have data. So for you, I mean, it's the complex structures, but what kind of data do you have? And then you build on the ML sourcing. Because the problem is when we think of something, we're like, hey, I want you to build me a website. And the person was like, oh, what do you want me to do with a website? It's like, hey, I want you to build an e-commerce website. Okay, what are you trying? What kind of e-commerce website? Like, oh, I want to sell t-shirts. Can you build me a t-shirt? It's like, what is your theme? It's like, dude, I don't know. You tell me. Like we do all those things in our head, like with people, because we have not defined the right problem. We want to spend time solving the problem and understanding what is the complex, like make a flow chart of, hey, problem, this is our mission that we want to solve. At the bottom you should be, this is the smallest problem, mutually exclusive problem that we can fix, and then we work backwards up. And then you can follow this technique or this method, like business problem, what is the data, what is the ML, what is the data pipeline, and then as you go towards the right, you see the business outcome is also there. So we want to start with business goal, we want to end at business outcome. Most often, as you said, the hackathon is about, hey, we want you to figure out, and how do you solve hackathons? You look up at a YouTube video, you take that, you read and say, look at what we have done, and everybody else in the room is like, you are the perplexity guy. You have done the same, copied somebody's code, and you've written and you've called it your own. That is what you see, because we're just trying to come up with a solution or copy or GitHub or clone something. All right, I'm gonna go and change gears. Go ahead.
I have a question. With this current stage of Gen AI, a lot of the solutions more like internal facing products. Have you seen, and I don't think we've actually reached the point of like monetization with the Gen AI based products. Have you actually come across that?
So basically, this is, I set you up. So this is basically what we are seeing in today's world is one of the two places where people are actually generating a lot of money is video and images. So copy.ai, does anybody remember copy.ai? They're trying to sell now because nobody's using them. Imagine you are a multi-billion-dollar company like Perplexity, and somebody figures out a free version of you. Or actually, so copy.ai did not have their own models. They were using ChatGPT, and OpenAI was like, you know what? We want to make money. So OpenAI made their product available for free. OpenAI makes $2 billion a year now, right? Because they offered something for free, and then you're like, okay, I'm just going to use them. And any product that OpenAI introduces into the market, it's going to get picked up because of the mass number of people who are involved in those products. Google cannot just die tomorrow because Google has billions, 5-6 billion users. When you have 5 to 6 billion users using your product every month, you have 1 billion queries a day. It's the law of large numbers that is associated with that. You're not going to lose them that fast. Why is McDonald's top of mind? Because it's a huge company, even though we all know it's plastic food, or like to turn the head around. But there is one day of a year for me where I have to eat that burger because as I eat it, I realize why I stopped eating it. But there's this thing in your head that you have to eat it. Do you guys have Five Guys here?
Yeah.
Right? Five Guys, Cajun style fries, right? Like, God, I'm hungry now. And I know we're getting to lunch, but the monetization has come in image generation. So you can do text to image. Some of you might have heard of Midjourney. Midjourney is a great product. They make $600 million a year. Because image generation is a huge problem. They've gotten so good and it's become so photorealistic that you're like, oh my, so it's replacing the time it took artists to build images. There is consistency problem, like it's the same image is not generated every single time, but they're getting closer and closer to it. Text to video is one of them, where people are generating videos so you can build small snippets. So now, don't worry about Hollywood. Think of internal training videos. What's your name, sir? Yeah. GB. Let's say you are a tech lead, but you want your people to onboard well, and you're like, you know what? I want them to understand this code, but so you build an AI tool that is a video and says, dude, this is the code, this starts from here, this ends over here, this is the packages that you need to install, and do not touch this code because it runs. I don't know how it runs, but it runs the company, right? That is a great tool. You don't
have that exact same problem right now.
I've worked, right? So but can you put these down? I think you guys might not be able to see because of the sun. I think right behind you there is, unless, press every button. Oh wow. You know how you go like every single button? By the way, if you're in an elevator and there's a kid who presses all the buttons, just open the elevator and get out. And go use it again. You don't have to stop at every elevator. I learned it the hard way. But okay, the generation of videos and the generation of images and I really don't like the code generation. GitHub Copilot is just a scam at this point, at least for me. But the video and images is basically something which I would recommend you all to imagine that, like, hey, JB, you basically give a GitHub code to an AI and say, I want you to make a video out of it that is explaining step by step how it's done. It does not require it's an Angelina Jolie speaking or whatever, but it's just a really great way of videos are a great way of interacting. You can build tutorials for that. So this is how we are building more and more things that, hey, we're adding media or medium, multimodal medium of conversation, so people can go beyond the document way, like just reading the GitHub code and falling asleep. Like, I mean, how horrible is this? Like, you come in and the guy gives you like a code file and he's like, okay, you go figure it out. And you're like, yeah, I don't understand. Like, why have you written this class like this? Like, are you 5? And then you write and it's like, dude, are you 3? Like, in this days and age, no two data scientists have the same way of making a code. Like, your model you would get the same accuracy. But no two data scientists have ever written the same model, like even the parameters of like you might use LGBM model. Those of you know LGBM and XGBoost models, but you basically will write differently. Like it's the same way you cook, right? People who, there are people who know what biryani is. People eat biryani. People who eat veg biryani. There's nothing known as veg biryani. That's called pulao. So anyways, coming, and then there's one more thing which is becoming very active: sales. So what people are doing is that they're adding a sales agent that is doing those, like, hey, we're gonna improve your productivity by finding you the right leads for your company. This is becoming a very big business, because what they're doing is that they are, anyone in salesperson, you're in sales.
Technical sales, yeah.
Technical sales. Can you tell the team about the secret tool called LinkedIn Sales Navigator? Right? And there's Apollo.
Yeah.
Right? So those of you who don't know, LinkedIn, like I recently learned about it because I never needed to sell anything. Now I have to sell a lot. So LinkedIn Sales Navigator is your way of searching for customers. And there are tools called Apollo and other tools which are just automated. But the CRM business Anybody who pays for HubSpot? Okay, different crowd. Anybody who's in sales, you're probably organized.
Salesforce, yeah, Salesforce.
Yeah, so you guys pay a dime and a leg and a kidney and a quarter.
Sure, probably.
Right, like for me, running my own company, when we got the quotes from Salesforce, I was like, you want a kidney? Like, do you take a kidney for that? So CRM automation is a very, very big, like, you get these emails now, like repeated emails. Some of you might get, hey, just following up from my last email, following up from my last email. It feels like you're not there yet. So in order to get that personalization going on, there are sales automation tools which are being built on top of LinkedIn Sales Navigator, which is identifying how good of an opportunity you are. So these are the businesses that are growing. And I have a lot of slides like these. There's music. There is speech. I mean, listen, your organizations, internal organizations, are an ecosystem on its own. Your organization is like some companies, but it's also not like any other company in the world. So you can use these products or build similar products for your internal systems. Like, there's a company called Beautiful.ai, and all they do is they build you decks, horrible decks. But I keep saying these things to you guys so that, because did you know there's code that you can write to generate presentations? Like, you don't have to actually, you can write a script that will generate presentations for you. So imagine you are a company, you want to generate internal presentations and you don't want to write them. You can write a script. Any engineer over here can figure it out in half a day, literally half a day. What is the business problem? You want to present decks to your executives. You don't have the time to generate all the different slides. So you can feed it all the documents and say, would you please make me a presentation with few lines or 1 or 2 lines. So as long as you have a template and 80% work is done for you, it's a deck, you need to colorify, put some logo on it, you're done. So think of AI in automation for a lot of these things. That is what these things are doing for you, is that they're automation. The music that you need to create, hey, I need a filler music for my open space and I don't want to pay license. You know, licensing in enterprise, if you buy enterprise software, you sell enterprise software, right? So you know how many zeros are behind that one.
Well, it depends on the model.
Right, but yes, they're like 7 zeros and 6 zeros, right? Right, so enterprises pay a lot of money for subscriptions, and so the world runs on enterprise sales. Okay, I'm just gonna give you a simple example. Enterprise sales are like millions and multi-million, 7-figure, 8-figure deals, and all it is basically you're taking some size of it and say, hey, I don't want to pay for licensing in the music that runs in my lobby. I'm gonna use an AI to generate that for me, which is going to look like Hans Zimmer made it, and there's ethical issues around that. But an example is that those automations can be done very quickly. This is what they're offering you: productivity and the reduction that you pay in enterprise sales cost to get that done. To get that. Of course, it's not at that capability that you would get. It's not a Hans Zimmer music, but sometimes we just pay for dumb, stupid things in enterprise, which can be automated through a bunch of things, and that's what people have an idea about that they want to do. All right, I want to pick up another example. Okay, now coming towards the end of the session, I want to ask you all. Sorry, go ahead.
I have a question about a specific use case. Very quickly, can you search videos or music or anything like so general?
Yes. Yes. It's just a multimodal search engine.
And for the presentation creation we talked about, which sounds like a very helpful use case, which companies are doing that right now?
I think Beautiful.ai is doing, but you have to pass a prompt. They are not ingesting your documents. We have a solution, but paid advertising. But we basically, you can write a prompt, beautiful.ai, you can write a prompt, make me a pitch deck for this. But most often when you work in a company, you're making a presentation on a software update or just an update, right? Which is based on certain documents. So that you can do. I don't think a lot of companies are doing that because you don't want to put your random data set onto a website and expect it to work, right? So you can build an internal tool for that. Right? But those exist, and if you can't, just give us a call. Right, okay, coming to the last part of today. What is a language model? I'm going to depict this with a very great example. This is going to be a little personal. Who has a more OCD partner than them? 1, 2. You have an OCD partner. Is your partner OCD more OCD? Okay, can you please stand up for us? This is going to be the standing. Okay. What is your partner more OCD about?
Organizing, clothes, by color, by
Okay.
shape, by
So
form.
what happens when you put the blue in the red section?
Oh, it's not good.
All right. Can you predict what they're going to say?
So I'm learning. I've learned, so now I'm doing like the colors.
Yeah, no, but in a normal way, let's say you're in a hurry. Your daughter is like, hey, we need to go or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, you just put it in randomly. What happens then?
Why did you do this?
Right? You can predict, even in your mind. Like, I just want to hold you this conversation for a second. In your mind, you have the anxiety of your partner getting angry at you, and you're running what they're going to say as a scenario in your head.
And then I get defensive sometimes because I know, but then I say, okay, it's this type, so.
And sometimes does this happen that you're already fighting with them in your head, and I'm talking about a lot of marriage stuff here. Right?
But I'm teaching him to adapt to my chaos, and I'm learning to be organized.
I don't want to be sexist about.
Coming in the middle.
I don't want to be sexist about this, but a guy would never say that. He will never say. I promise you, a guy will never say, "I'm teaching my wife," or in most cases.
I've been a lecturer, so that's why.
Like, okay, this is how you make me feel when you say. Okay, sorry. Okay, all right. What I'm trying to get to is you can run a scenario and predict behavior, and in your mind you're looking at different scenarios. That is what a language model is. A language model is able to repeat a pattern of set of words based on a previous conversation or based on a previous training data. So essentially, a language model is nothing but a prediction model that can say the cat sat on the mat from the training data that it was given. Which means the language model or the LLM that we so love cannot do 2 plus 2. These models are not built for the capability to do what is 2 plus 2, what is 2 plus 6. They are only able to reiterate what was taught to them previously. So if you teach them, if you try to make them talk about a completely different language and a very, very different rules, it won't be able to analyze that unless you give them training information about that. So the customization and whatever you want to call, so GPT is a tool which is able to mimic human behavior because it has been fed human behavior over the years of many people. And when it confuses between the source of information, it tries to still retrofit based on a probability function, and that's where it hallucinates, and that's where it creates a data bias. Because it has the bias of that information being fed to it. Meta introduced an LLM not too long ago, trained on Facebook pages. So Biden was president, and if you would ask that system, who is the current president of the United States, it would say Trump won. It's a conspiracy theory that Biden won, right? Because it was trained on the data of Facebook pages. See, they try to do a good thing. They're like, okay, we're going to only train on our own data and we're going to check it out. But guess what? This is what happens. And if you train data just on Twitter data, you will know what happens. And if you train just on Reddit data, it will tell you to stick glue to your pizza. That's a true example from Gemini. So large language models, what they do is they are built on massive amounts of data. Massive amounts of data. So they are learning a probability function of what should be coming next. And what you see today in the current world, where did it go? What you see in today's world is there, you know how you use ChatGPT today? It's a foundation model which is fine-tuned on the task. The tasks are basically, I'm going to write something and I want you to generate an answer for it. That is fine tuning. So the foundation models, remember the foundation models are only generation of left to right or right to left depending on that language. But it's just a generation, okay? It's just a generation. Its ability to speak like a human in the way of question answering, it's what you have tuned or fine tuned it to generate a response for you. That is what LLMs are. So if somebody comes and tell you that LLM is self-learning, you call BS. Because you can fine tune it to a task, you can feed information through it through RAG, retrieval augmented generation, but it is not godly sentient. It's a conspiracy theory.
Here's a good example of what you were saying.
Sorry. How many R's are there in strawberry? It's like there are 2 R's in the word strawberry, right? Because there are 3 R's, by the way, if you're trying to imagine the spelling of strawberry. But essentially what we're getting is that these models are not great because they're just remembering something that was taught to them a while ago. So they don't have reasoning power as you think they do. They have a reasoning power through the probability function that is built in and that helps you, that is written in English for you. That's why you think, oh my God, this is sentient. Like there's so many. So please, I know we are just at time. I have 5 minutes to go. When you leave this room, remember it's a tool that you can use to automate a lot of things. It's a tool that can read and understand or do tasks for you, but it's not an end in itself, and it is not, definitely most importantly, it is not sentient in any way. It's just a probability function, which is a mimic, like anybody who has had a parrot in their home. Like, you know, parrots are able to repeat conversations. It's just a conversation. These are great mimicry models based on the training data you have. With that, I think we are at the end of it. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the 3 hours. I hope it went well for you. As of next steps, I will be around. Hopefully, if there's lunch, is there lunch? But if there's lunch, I'll be around because I'm really hungry now. I've been here all day. But I'm here to help answer any questions. If your organization is looking to build GenAI or you have business problems that you like to solve, please come find me. We do this all day. Our mission, it's going to sound very, very diplomatic, but literally the only reason I started my company is to solve the toughest problems out there that GenAI can be used to solve those problems. And that's what we try to do. With that, thank you, everyone. And I want to take a picture with all of you, so we're going to figure out, we're going to stand here, we're going to do a selfie.
Could you
yes.
please explain what your company does in like 30 seconds?
In a very simple term, we're a consulting company that will build whatever you need to build. Yeah, so my LinkedIn is there. Literally, if you just put my first name Hamza at Traversaal.ai, I think you should be able to. And I should have put it there somewhere, but that should do. Okay.
LinkedIn give QR on the first slide.
Yes. Yes, I can. We'll have to figure out the emails and everything. There should be an AI for that. But this is the fastest way to get you all to access to me, and then we can have a conversation on how we can send out the deck to everyone. All right, how can I answer any questions? Good.
I have a question that perhaps wasn't covered here. So, as a product manager, how you define pricing? So that you want to build a Gen AI app, because I come from a data science background, so more tech. So that is something that I kind of want to learn.
How do you want to price?
Yeah. So you build a mobile app. You are a product manager at a company, so and you build a Gen AI app. So how do you define pricing for what you're building?
So what you do is you look at the most relevant pricing that how other. So first you have to decide is it an enterprise product or is it a consumer product, right? Consumer product, people are not going to pay $100 a month. Consumer product, you're looking at $7.99, $8.99, $9.99 at best, right? And you look at the volume. In enterprise, it's the opposite. You start with 6 figures, 7 figures, and then you focus on 3 customers. And then if you get lucky, you get 100 enterprise customers, and that's enough for you to, right? You'll buy a Ferrari.
Oh, okay.
All right. Any other questions? Okay. Good.
Where's the current oversupply in talent right now, or undersupply, both ends of the curve, or tech? So oversupply and undersupply. Where are we getting too many people taking the course that everybody else is taking?
Prompt engineering. Everybody thinks they do prompt engineering and they're AI scientists.
Right. And where is there an undersupply?
People who can actually build tools, like large scalable tools themselves from ground up. That's what we do. Right, no, so the reason to start a company was to actually, because I was teaching this and I was consulting with companies and I saw them, the SAPs of the world and the snowflakes of the world would come and sell, because they also don't know enough. This is a very new thing and not a lot of people. So how do you build large scalable architectures using these products? That's the reason we started the company, so that we could provide them and people can use them, because that's a technology that was being used at Google and Meta, and it was not readily available. Like, you might have all heard of decoder models or GPT based models. How many of you know encoder models? 1, right? 2, 3. So the encoder models is actually the true thing which brings in the magic. And encoder models, lots of people don't know about them, because garbage in, garbage out, because they're just going to sell you a theme, and that theme is just because you don't understand, so you just say, oh, we're going to do that. The undersupply is actually good people who know how to build them from ground up and not rely on LangChain. Please don't use LangChain. You probably have seen what happens with LangChain, right? Like, because they keep changing their architecture every 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, on that note, what would you suggest alternatively?
Just try to build it from ground. Like, what do you need? You need retrieval. You need generation. It's such a simple code. It's literally one Collab notebook that have all of that.
Or fast building.
Yeah.
You suggest just from scratch.
Like basic scratch sentence transformers. Just start with sentence transformers. Sentence transformer Hugging Face has done all the heavy lifting for you. LangChain is 2 lines on top of that. That's it. That is what LangChain is. Use FAS. You should know how to use FAS. You should know how to work with encoder models. You should know how to work with distance metrics. I know this is technical, but you should know how to work with distance metric. See, this is the difference. Like, when you're young or at some point you buy frozen pizza, right? Then you get sick of frozen pizza and then you start trying to cook food from recipe boxes, like spice boxes and all of that. This is an Indian example, but I'm just giving. And then you say, okay, you know what? I'm going to make my own spice. Like, I'm going to make spices from scratch. Like, not spices from scratch, but I'm going to make this food from scratch. And that food from scratch becomes so good because then you become the talented person that you are. That is the level of perfection that I'm trying to push you, because it will all taste the same. There will be no differentiation. But in order to get your own uniqueness and to make it work better for you, that understands the business problem that you're trying to solve, try to build from sentence transformers. Don't go into wrapper companies. Again, they pay a lot of money for you to speak about them, which is fine, absolutely fine, nothing wrong with making money. but their tool breaks more often and you don't have the control on how you're chunking or slicing the data. You should know what you're doing behind the hood.
But if we want
So-
if something fast, like a fast prototype, like in 2 days, what do you suggest the platform?
I literally don't understand when we talk about like fast prototyping, because you can also do fast prototyping with sentence transformers.
I mean, the wrappers around, because it should be beautiful, everything
Yeah,
together.
right. And this is where learning comes, right? Like if you're a data scientist, you should know how to build an API. Like then it just means that you don't know enough about AI itself, like being a data scientist, right? Like you've been trained for 4 years of undergrad, 2 years of college, and then you still are like, I can't build an API, then probably you're in the wrong place.
Yeah, it is much more about the integrity.
Yeah.
It is okay to build from scratch, but sometimes
But-
connecting all these
So
modules
just,
fast
just,
is hard.
just so I'm clear, you're not saying that to train the model yourself from scratch. You're
No.
saying that take the foundational models, then fine tune them for your own use case or data, but with the tools, not with wrapper tools on top.
Yes, because
So
you
that- so
can't
that you
control
own-
what's happening behind
no,
the
no,
scene.
I get that, okay.
Yeah.
I get that part.
That's what I'm saying. Don't build it. Do you have multi-million-dollar? You shouldn't be here if you have multi-million-dollars.
Dude, yeah, trust me, if I had training model money, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm offended, but I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm just-
I wouldn't be working.
Yeah.
That's the reality.
With that fine tuning, a lot of organizations struggle with that indexing problem, right? That's what the company like a Glean comes in and they actually facilitate that
Yeah.
indexing process. But you think people can actually do that?
I mean,
indexing process?
indexing is not a big problem like vector database can be there. It's the user management issue that you raised, which Glean offers really well. Glean is not a wrapper company, but Glean is built on OpenAI infrastructure. But they are really good at user level access. All right, guys. Thank you for being here. Thank you, everyone.